All right, what is up, fellow Sternritters? So I just want to make this quick video talking about Union Arena's Bleach Yellow deck and the different two energy options, uses, my choices, things like that. So jumping right into the video, we're gonna start with Bernice. He is the 0 cost, so he's super great for early game. Hopefully you're drawing into him within like turn 1, and for the most part, you're going to play that in the Yuha Bach version of the deck. He is meant to help with the requirements for the raid Yuha Bach to meet that one character or two characters being sidelined in that turn. Odds are you're going to run into situations where it's probably better to use his ability prior to even going into your raid plays. So like maybe turn 2, him and then a couple others that I'm going to mention. These are some that every color has literally word for word text. This is just going to be how he's supposed to be played with this deck. I am currently running him at 4 in my Yuha Bach version of the deck. Next up is Masty Masculine. So there's not a lot of real targets for him. He's a little bit mid for now. I expect maybe in the future he will have good targets, and so there's a pre-release version of him. I'm going to go ahead and pick some up for myself at some point, hopefully while they're still less than $1. In Bleach Purple, there is a combo where the player will start off with the 0 cost Uryu, and then they use the 1 cost Orihime to bounce that Uryu back to hand. The Uryu allows them to cycle through their deck faster, and so by bouncing it to the hand, they can reuse it. We don't have anything like that right now. Then next up is Nanana. So Bernice, Master Masculine, and Nanana all, again, we have something like this in every color. Nanana is usually a choice that I've seen on online deck lists. It's really cool, but right now it loses to Green Bleach, which is probably about 1/6 of the meta, if that. But it's enough to the point where playing him is not the best idea right now. So let's say your opponent uses their Hitsugaya, which stuns your Nanana, stopping him from giving you 2 energy during your turn, or even during their turn, and they swig at your life and they hit into raid Yuha Bach. You lose out on that play. So next up is BG9. So this one's really good in the stun variant, although it is action inefficient because you'll likely have to use an action to stun something and then go into BG9 to get that draw. But if your main plays are to stun things, then he's good. And then his counterpart is Robert. So Robert is more for the Yuha Bach deck. You're probably behind, though, if you're trying to use Robert for the draw. If your opponent already has 4K bodies and you're trying to draw into pieces that you still need, odds are you're behind. And though there are times where I've been in a situation where I use an action to draw a card at the start of my turn, again, still trying to draw into pieces I need. So Robert essentially does that for you, but he puts a body on the field, so he's more action efficient. Otherwise, he's just a card that, hey, it generates 2 energy. If you have it, you have it. Next up is Jerome. So this one's my absolute favorite in the current meta. That probably won't be my favorite going forward. So what he does, this is another one that is available for every color in their own version. If your opponent has green or purple, which I don't know about y'all, but at my meta, it's all green or purple. So I am almost guaranteed for my opponent to have a green or purple card. So if your opponent has green or purple, then he reduces the energy requirement for himself by 1, making him 2. And it's just a consistent way to get an early 2 cost energy on board, especially if you combine it with Bernice. And with this, odds are in the future, probably next month, Jujutsu Kaisen is going to release. It has a blue deck that's supposed to be really good, and so that's going to take up space in the meta. So you have a lesser chance of running to purple or green decks. So in the future, I probably won't be playing this. I'll be choosing Nanana instead. Right now, though, this is probably the best kind of anti-meta card for specifically yellow players. I don't see myself playing this outside of this current format, but it's also one of those things where it's good to just kind of take an idea or take a, how do I say this? Take a look at your locals. There's going to be those struggle battles or rare battles, whatever they're called. And this is probably one of those cards that's good in those situations as well, because odds are your opponents are playing purple or green. They're the more popular colors for Bleach. Friendly reminder, struggle or rare battles are battles specifically or tournament specifically using only cards from a specific set. Next up, and the last one actually, is going to be Yuhabak. So the effect with this is super hit or miss. You may hit something for your opponent that you are stopping one of their big plays, or you may end up just seeing a card that you decide, I'm going to go and put it on the top of their deck so they don't draw an amazing card out of it. Odds are, if you hit, it's going to give you a slight advantage. And this deck isn't amazing, so you do want as many advantages as possible. This is definitely a lower tier deck out of all the available decks currently. So this card is a color trigger. There are 2 color triggers in yellow Bleach, and you can only have 4 color triggers in your deck. So this competes with the color trigger of the current deck. The other color trigger is As Not, who has a much better effect, an effect that gives you long-term value. And a huge part of me would prefer to play that in almost any situation. Even in the pure Yuhabak version. So I have a deck focused on Yuhabak. I like that this is an early setup for raiding into him, or if it's your opponent's turn and they're hitting your life and he's there. But if you can consistently generate 6 energy and have one of your 4 costs or your 0 cost Yuhabak already on the field, then this probably isn't needed. But right now, you know, I'm keeping him in there just for the name. Otherwise, this is the worst of the 2. I'd much prefer the 3 cost As Not in almost any situation. And those are just my thoughts on the 2 energy generators for the Bleach Yellow deck. I'll probably be putting up some gameplay videos as well in the future, most likely with Yellow Bleach or even Green Bleach. That's another deck that I'm interested in testing out. And then we'll go from there. Thank you.